Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome to episode 24. Today I want to talk about that feeling of being ready and to lift the lid on it slightly because many of us never feel 100% ready. I remember getting ready to have my baby. And I would go through a checklist. Me and my partner used to have these baby meetings. So we were really busy with work throughout my pregnancy. And sometimes we were working weird hours and we were crossing over. And there needed to be like moments where we sat down and we'd call them baby meetings. It's like, okay, we need to make a decision on this. We need to think about this. Or like, let's order the cot tonight or whatever it might be. And they were really great. And it got to that stage that when I went to hospital and I was in labor to have my child, there was part of me that was really comforted by that checklist. It's like, okay, I've bought the things and I've done that. But actually then having the baby, I was so beyond or so far away rather from being ready. It was ridiculous. I actually, despite having the cot and the whatever, and I didn't feel ready, but I was in it then. And then suddenly you've got this baby in your arms and you're like, oh, I've got to take this baby home now and figure it out and all of these things. And I think you only know what you know. And so I want to talk about this readiness today because so many people put off the first step of starting because they think that they are so far away from being ready. But the clue is, and the insight is that you need to just take the first step despite being ready or not. And I think that we have grown up, especially as women and as girls, that we had to be perfect before we began. And yet the bar was really low for us. Like getting ready for a night out, it was all like, have you got a brand new top? Like that was the level of readiness. Nobody ever talked about like, how do you get ready to go and do whatever? How do you get ready to buy a house? How do you get ready to start a business? Like none of that was in the education. It was all about like, are you ready to look nice so you're impressive to the male gaze? You know, there's so many of these things. And so if anybody has this wobbly feeling about investing in themselves, I'm just really not surprised because we've had to learn this. And I've also learned to listen to the 360 version of that situation. There have been so many times where I haven't had the resources, I hadn't had the extra energy or the financials or the whole plan, but I've had to listen so deeply to that feeling inside me that is going, go. Make it happen. Take the first step. Make the phone call. Just see what happens. Like I remember before, like we vaguely knew that we were ready to begin moving house. But even on that day, I felt really scared going into the estate agents because there was that sense of like, oh, it's real now. And I'd seen this house where we now live, I'd seen it on the internet for about 5 months and I'd followed it and it'd fallen through clearly with other people. And that I remember that feeling. I'd done the school drop and I was in my running kit and I went to the estate agents and I was like, I'd really like to look at that house, please. And I had all of that imposter syndrome, even though I didn't need to, but I felt it because I suddenly thought you had to like have a badge before you went ahead. And so what I want to encourage you today is that despite all the blocks and the chatter and the limiting beliefs, I want you to take the first step. Because by taking the first step is actually how you figure it out. It's how you make progress. And so much emphasis has been put onto the thinking time. If I spend more time thinking about it, then I'm going to be more ready. However, there comes a time. Another example, I remember when I first started to learn to drive. And on the first day, she was like, great, okay, so do you want to put the key in the ignition and get your feet right and then put it into first gear and then lift the handbrake off and like whenever you're ready, do you want to get go? And I could not believe it. We're going to drive today where I'm in charge. I'm going to do that within the first 5 minutes of being in this car. You're not going to like show me the engine. Like, actually, that would be a really good thing. But no, off we go. I was in charge. But then the second time I had a lesson, I was like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And like, you figure it out as you go. So I want you to be open to being in the game. You're not going to always find the solution the first time. You're not going to get it right the first time. To go back to driving, you're going to stall it. You're going to also then have a moment on maybe lesson 7 where you go, I feel like I've forgotten everything. I feel like I'm out of the loop. I feel like I need to go back and revise and go over the things. This is part of the process. But what I want you to do is to be in the process. And sometimes think outside the box. You know, sometimes people will say like, I want to do some coaching, but I haven't got the money in my savings. I'm like, okay, well, how can you make the money? How can you do it? Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm like, are you in business? Yeah. Well, I guess I could sell something. Yeah, that's what you need to do. How many things do you need to sell? And how are you going to do it? I think you have to be creatively concerned and thinking about things, because it's not all going to be handed to you. And sometimes I feel like that part of the education system of like, these are the things you need to do, and not putting enough emphasis on critical thinking can be dangerous. So make sure you're doing just that. To go deeper, find all the details down below.